Hey there everyone, welcome back to my channel, Jackie's Joy. On this channel I do the things that make me happy, like handmade cards and shopping hauls. So I do one shopping haul, one handmade cards, one shopping, and I do that, and you'll get 3 videos a week at least. So if you don't like one but you like the other, could you please still subscribe, as you can just ignore the one in the middle and do the other one that you do like when it pops up in your feed. So anyway, enough about that. Today we are doing cards with square toppers. And I have a few to show you. Now this one was hard to do. It was so hard for me to put that on Monkey. Oh my giddy aunt, it was so hard. I kept straightening it up, and in the end I just stuck it down and left it. So, the topper is cut out with a square stitch die. The mat is cut out with a scalloped stitch die. I have a white card base that is 4 1/8 by 5 3/4. I have a black mat that is 4 by 5 5 roughly, and then three 3/4. Is that right? 3 5/8. 3 5/8 is that? Wait till we measure. By 5, just over 5.5. Just over 5. I go down 3 mil every time. So I go down, I start with my card base and I go down 1, 2, 3, and I do my first score at just 1 under 4, and then I go to the bottom and I cut it at 1 under 5. No, I cut it at, this one is cut at 1 over 5.5. I know that's pernickety, but that's just the way I do it. My craft card in the background is embossed with a die that has cut the snowflake pattern out. I had these little black glitter snowflakes in my stash, and I had this bow in my stash, and that's what finished my card. Right, number 1. Number 2. Number 2 is made with a square image from the Paper Boutique Beverly Eden Christmas Gnomes. Okay, so I've cut them out with a stitch square die. I've cut out my mat with a Crafter's Companion staggered die, and the paper is from my stash. The green glitter card is from my stash. This will have been cut out of the green glitter card. I found this little tree that matched well and just put it off to the left. Put a Merry Bride in the bottom, and then we have red stars to complete the look. And this one here comes from that same pad. And this is how you use a little tiny one. I matted it in some green glitter card, and then this is a tonic die set. The top is cut out in red, the base is cut out in a green, and the same with this one. This bit is popped up, this bit is popped up, and then I put a green and a red white bow on, and this is a 5x5 card. That one was 5x5. So this is a 6x6, and this is just one that was in my stash, and it's going to sit that way because that's the way I made it without thinking. So I took an edge die. First of all, I picked a paper, added a gold mat, found the topper, and added a gold scallop mat that you could stitch if you wanted. I cut this out of this mat. Then I had another bit of card and I cut this edge die out with all these stars on it. I then wrapped a bit of pink ribbon to match the background because it's actually pink in the berries and the flower and the bauble. I added a bit of ribbon round it and stuck it down. There were some extra stars and I just did 3 sizes, 1, 2, 3, and this is a 6x6 card. This one here is also a 6x6 card. It's made with that Christmas gnomes pad, and this was a square topper. I just took one of my shape dies and cut it out with the shape die and cut the mat out with the next size shape die. I cut the mat out of the mat in the background. I added a paper from my stash. I then added one of the strips across with the same green glitter card as the mat. I have the little "Have a Happy Festive Season" down at the bottom, and I added it in a green mat. This is popped up, this is popped up, and I just finished it with snowflakes and stars like this. This one's pretty, this one's unusual. So, once again I started with a square topper. I picked a pink foil card. I cut my mat for my paper and cut this scallop die out of the mat, put on the paper, stuck it down. Then I took this same edge die, but this time I stuck it on just the side of my topper and stuck it down. This is popped up. These are a couple of the leftover stars, and I finished with a glitter "Merry Christmas" along the top. Right. So these ones are made with a Gnome Holiday by Paper Boutique. Okay, and these are more muted cards, muted tones. I like the more vivid normally. I'm not really, it doesn't float my boat whenever it's all dark and muted, but I do my own thing and I got it done. So I picked a green mat. I had this white bit cut out already, okay? So I decided I was doing a green mat for these. So I took my topper and added a green mat to it and stuck them together. I took this here and I got a stitch die that was bigger than this and cut it out of this mat here. Then I popped this up with small foam circles And then I popped this one up with thicker foam tape. I added some different colour of green gems, and that's it done. I haven't added a sentiment, I've just totally forgot about that, so we're just going to leave it as it is. And I have finished the inside where I could with 2 strips of the same card, and I found all these snowflakes in my Christmas box, so I'm just adding them as well. This is another thing you can do with square toppers. You can take a circle die. I took a wonky stitch circle die and I cut my flower out of my square topper. I decided that I was going to use gold as my base. So I found this red bit in my stash, and it's actually a snowflake die, circle die thing. And they look good together, but I didn't like it without the gold mat, so I had to add a gold mat, and then I popped this up with small thin foam dots. Then I added this red and added a gold mat to it too, which came out of the mat in my background. So mat, paper, then this here is on thicker foam tape. And I've added a Let It Snow and red and gold gems. That's pretty. So, this one, those were 6 by 6 by the way. This one is 4 1/8 by 5 3/4. And I decided that I was going to use a green blue, like a teal card, because this paper here matched with that. It looked good against it. So I picked the paper, added a mat, my square topper I cut out, and then I took a stitch die and cut the inside of this topper out. I put the inside on flat and popped the outside on foam tape strips. I added some gem or snowflakes in a similar colour and finished it off with the season's greens. And that is my card. This one wasn't made with a square topper, but I'll show you anyway now I have it. I had this in my stash, so I added my topper onto it. It is actually double layered. I had this in my stash, so I popped this and this up and set it on that. That dictated my mat, so I cut out a black mat. I took one of the papers. Now I think, no, I think that paper comes from here. Yes, it does. The paper predate Festive Wishes. So I added my paper. This is on these bits. Some of these bits are flat, and then the rest of it is popped up with small foam. I found this Warmest Holiday Wishes and added a red stitched mat to it. And I think that needs some gems, so I shall do that at a later day. Right, the last 4. The last 4 were made with the paper Boutique. Create and Craft member gift set. 20. God, I've had this 5 years. There you go. So, yes, that's what I'm using now for the last 4. So, I took this kind of teal colour to go with the darker tones in my topper. I started with a 5x5 card, and it fit, this background fit on it perfectly, and this is cut with a background die. It's cut lots of little circles, so I stuck it on. I used the same colour paper for a mat for my topper, and then I added a white topper to break up the blue and blue, and I popped it up on foam tape. And I simply finished with a Be Merry in gold, and that is double layered. This one's pretty. For this one, I used the same colour card because it seems to work well with this set. I cut my mat 5x5 by 5x5. My gold is then 5x3 by 5x3, and I debossed that with an embossing folder. I didn't mean to deboss it, but I did it, and it worked out fine anyway. So I cut my stitched mat out of my base mat. Then I cut my topper out with the size smaller of the stitch die. I took my little bear and I added a little bow onto his scarf that I found that matched, and I added a little gem. I also added a green bow onto one of the presents, and then tiny little gold gems on each of these white dots to make my tree sparkle and shine. Sparkle and shine. Sparkle and shine. Right. I took my topper and I added a gold mat. I picked a paper to match and added a gold mat. I then put on 3 white snowflakes, popped this up on foam tape, put 3 white snowflakes on the trees, and then added a little golden bow, and that was it. Now the last one is once again one of the square toppers that I cut out with a circle die. I had this in my stash, so I simply stuck my topper to my circular frame. I added my mat, and my paper is from the same Paper Boutique Festive Wishes. So I simply added a gold mat and a paper from the same coordinating. I found this little tinsel in my stash, and I added it on for a bit of va-va-voom. And then to finish it off, I added a white bow at the bottom. So there we have 1, 2, 3 6x6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 cards. Yay! We made 14 cards. So thank you for stopping by. I would really appreciate it if you would thumbs up, just to try and help me grow a little bit. It's quite frustrating. So, anyway, thank you for stopping by. Much appreciated. I do hope you're all safe, well, and have a fantastic day. And until the next time,